All right, high rollers, we've had him on before, one of the young guns of today's poker world. He's had a number of big scores, 2015 especially a good year, where he truly mowed them down. Several big results, including a second in the first ever WSOP Online Championship. He's a player, coach, creator of CheckShovePoker.com, and now an author. His new book, Advanced Concepts in No Limit Hold'em, A Modern Approach to Poker Analysis, is now available for pre-order. Hunter Cichy joins us. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for being our high roller today.
Thanks for having me, Derek.
Are you still in Florida, man? Because I understand the scene there. I know the scene there is absolutely thriving. I've had a few people on from Florida. Everyone talks about Vegas and LA, but why leave the state of Florida when you got so much going on there?
They have all of the things that I love. Beaches, warm weather, beautiful women, and big poker games. And I also don't have to pay any state income tax, so you can't really lose down here.
You moved there. I understand that. You bought a house. You had some scores. You purchased a house with that money. Now you're down there playing the cash games. You told us last time that you can go into basically any poker room there Monday afternoon, 2 o'clock, and find a juicy game. Is that good, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not exaggerating at all when I say that.
All right. Okay. A lot has happened since we last spoke. The World Series of Poker's coming up. We're going to talk about that in a second. But we've got to talk about this book of yours. I remember one of your quotes last time was that you study the game more than most people play it. And I guess this book is just an extension of that. Is that correct?
Yes. So I'm a really big proponent of constantly evolving because the games have gotten tougher in the last couple of years, and you need to continuously make improvements or you'll get left behind.
So how long did it take you to write the book? What was your philosophy going in, and are you happy with the end result?
It took me a couple of years to write because I wasn't working on it full-time. My initial intention was never to write a book. It was just to create a bunch of PDFs that I could send to poker students that basically described a lot of my thoughts on various poker topics. And what ended up happening was I had so many notes, over 400 pages of them, that I was able to rearrange them and turn it into a book. So once I started working on it seriously, the total process took me 6 months. I contacted D&B Poker Publishing, which is the largest poker publisher in the world at the moment. They took a look at the manuscript as well as my book proposal, and they loved it, and they said they'd publish it for me. So I'm super, super happy with everything.
Well, you talk about D&B Poker. You've joined some great company there, right? Jonathan Little, Mike Sexton, Phil Hellmuth. I just checked the website today, and they've got the 2016 World Champion Key Win. He's got a book out.
Yes, as well as Chris Moorman. Chris Moorman wrote Chris Moorman's Book of Poker, and he's also coming out with a second book as well. So very exciting stuff this publishing cycle.
Yeah, it must be nice to be joined in that company. Okay, I got to ask you, what is the modern approach to poker analysis? You work very hard, you coach, you play, you study, and I'm running down the chapters in this book. Listen to some of these. Poker is war. Hand versus hand equity, hand versus range equity, rule of 2 and 4, backdoor equity, diluted equity, dynamic fold equity, stack to pot ratios. This stuff likely is over my head. Who is this book for? This is for the player that's taking it very serious, right?
No, I disagree with that statement. It's not over your head. It's not over the head of any high school graduate. I've broken down those math concepts in a way that anybody could understand. So you find me some random guy off the street in Vegas, and I can teach him those math concepts in 3 days. There are 5 of them, basically. You've got pot odds, pot equity, fold equity, minimum defense frequency, and implied odds. And together I call that the framework. You're always using at least 2 of those for every decision that you make throughout the hand. And once you know how to apply those to range analysis, that's really all you need to know for any poker variant with community cards.
Okay, so this book is for anybody, and these are subjects that everybody who really wants to get better at the game needs to know, right?
Yes, it's universally applicable, especially the early chapters of the book. And then I'm just taking irrefutable facts and combining them together and extrapolating in a way that allows you to beat the higher stakes games as well.
We're speaking with Hunter Cichy. He's on Twitter at Hunter Cichy. His website is CheckShovePoker.com, on Twitter at CheckShover. He's got a new book, Advanced Concepts in No Limit Hold'em, I know you work very hard in your game, Hunter. You've had great success. 2015 was a great year for you. The World Series of Poker's coming up. I guess you run into this all the time. You sit down to the table, these conversations break out, the subject of, say, stack to pot ratio comes up, and you just must have bug eyes when you realize that half the people there have no idea what the subject is all about.
An even better example I could give is fold equity. You sit down at any 5-10 no limit table and ask the guys at the table how often someone needs to fold to a half pot bet to make that a profitable bluff. And the vast majority of those guys can't answer that, much less tell you how often their opponent needs to be defending to prevent them from bluffing with any two cards. So to say that poker has gotten too tough nowadays, I totally disagree with that. You just have to delve a little bit deeper.
You just have to work a bit harder.
Absolutely.
Okay, so dnbpoker.com. The book is available for pre-order now. I know you've got something special with the book release as well, a video package, an extended video package of all your thoughts on these concepts. What's that all about?
Yes, Dan Adelman and Byron Jacobs are two awesome guys, and they liked the book so much that they wanted to combine it with some of my higher quality training videos. They had seen those online on my YouTube channel, as well as some of my older videos on redchippoker.com. So initially I didn't want to do it because it's a ton of work, but I eventually agreed to do it and put together a 3-video training package. It took me 36 hours to record 3 hours of footage, but it's by far the best quality content that I could put out.
Yeah, you worked hard on it. You've got the YouTube channel and the blog. Talk about those two entities too, because I know you're prolific in providing the poker playing public great content.
Right. My goal is to provide free content that is better than paid content on most of these training sites. And right now I can pretty confidently say that I'm doing that. So then by the time that people come to me for my private coaching services, I'm just completely blowing their minds and having them take the red pill and allowing them to enter into the world of poker that I live in.
Yeah, I know coaching is a big part of your program. You place a lot of emphasis on it. Checked out your website again, checkshovepoker.com, and you really made some improvements to the site. It's really looking good these days.
Right. One of the big things that I've always focused on is acquisition and quality of content. So although the display on my initial website wasn't very good and the user interface wasn't very good, the content was so good that people kept coming back. And then I finally had enough time during the down season after the World Series of Poker last year to revamp the whole site. And now it's super nice, scaling on every mobile device, and it's also fully automated. So people can go on there, they can read all about the coaching services that I provide, see my exact schedule tethered to Google Calendar, pick a date that they'd like coaching, and then send me the payment through a PayPal portal without ever talking to me. It's fully automated, and then my phone will just alert me an hour before the session starts, and I log in on Skype, and we're good to go.
You take the coaching very serious. I know you really delve into it with your students. I checked your website, and man, oh man, have you got some great programs there for your students to get into. Poker, I don't even know half these programs are. Poker, Snowy, I don't use them, but they're there, and they should be used for guys who are taking it seriously. And you also watch some, I guess they're motivational videos before each coaching session to keep you sharp and alert?
Right, so there are a couple interesting things there. The first one is that one of the things I wanted to do this year was partner with Poker Snowy, because the developers over there are the best in the world. They're the guys that originally invented backgammon Snowy, solved it, and made it so that people couldn't hustle backgammon anymore in the 90s. That was when everyone transitioned over to limit hold'em and 7-card stud. And now these guys have taken it to the next level with the advent of the cloud. They were able to acquire enough computing power to solve No Limit Texas Hold'em with a limited number of bet sizes. And they did it by brute force. So it's incredible. They're the best. And I'm really proud to be an affiliate with them. I'd like to plug their product as much as possible, because I truly believe that, although I have a financial incentive to do so, it is the best software out there, and I'm actively using it with all of my students. I was doing that before I ever partnered with them. Another great program that I use, it's a Mac-based software. It's called Poker Cruncher. I've worked directly with their chief developer, RJ, to improve the user interface on that now it's available on your iPhone too. So I'm constantly using that for equity calculations and range versus range analysis. There's another program that I'm big on. It's Poker Income Pro for your iPhone, and that's by far the best poker accounting software that there is, because not only does it break everything down into graphs instead of you having to do that manually in an Excel sheet. It also backs up all of that data in the cloud so that you're never going to use it, and you can just get an exact gauge of your hourly in cash games and your return on investment in live MTTs. And then another app that I'm big on is the Snapshot app by Max Silver, which shows you the GTO push fold ranges for up to 20 big blinds from every position for every anti-structure, which is something that nobody has ever done before. So I'm constantly trying to recommend extremely useful resources, and the information that I've put out there for free has been more than enough for me to acquire enough students to just do that full time during the day. And then at night, I'm going to play big cash games at the Hard Rock. On the weekends, I'm flying out of town to go play a bigger MTT.
I usually ask the old timers this. We recently had Padraig Parkinson on from Ireland, who finished third in the 1999 main event. I say, can you believe the explosion of poker and the things that have changed since you started playing? But for a guy like you, even a younger guy, so much has changed. And I'm wondering, are you just amazed at all the resources out there available, not just for cash guys, but especially for the online players? I mean, there's just so much nowadays.
Right. The state of poker has changed from years past, where people like Phil Hellmuth and Daniel Negreanu could just play a ton of hours of poker, and they were intelligent guys. They learned by trial and error. They put together the best strategy that they could, and that was better than the general population because they were just playing more hours. And then you moved on to online poker, where guys like Tom Dwan and Victor Blum were just playing millions and millions of hands, and they had so much more experience than everybody else, as well as a tenacity to move to the top, and they were able to crush almost everybody. But nowadays, it's really all about the software. It's about who's working with the best software. Are you actively using programs like Poker Snowy or Simple Post Flop or GTorb to break down all of these situations using brute force and see the exact game theory optimal solution to each of these situations? And then once you have that baseline for game theory optimal play, it allows you to see how your opponents are deviating from optimal play, and then begin to construct exploitative strategies so that you could potentially win more than what you should in a vacuum.
You mentioned Poker Income Pro there, and I'm just wondering your thoughts on this. You're playing a lot of poker, different variations. You're playing tournaments, but you focus on the cash games, but you're playing in a live setting. Do you feel like a lot of live players, I'm at fault for this, a lot of live players don't keep proper stats on how they're doing, winning, losing, what they're spending, what kind of profit they're making? Do you think it's pretty sloppy on most players' part?
99% of poker players are doing a terrible job accounting. I'd say 90% of them will have sessions that are so bad that they just refuse to enter them in Poker Income because it's something too psychologically painful for them. They're too attached to money to even enter that. And biggest part of improving in poker is just having humility and being able to admit that you've made mistakes and you've done things wrong, but you're figuring out ways to improve and then going out and executing. So one of the things that I learned from entering data every day for a year after moving down to Florida was that my win rate was 150% higher from the hours of 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. than it was from noon to 8 p.m. So I obviously just switched my entire schedule to the graveyard shift, which made me seem like a degenerate for a while, but I increased my income by 150% just by making one schedule alteration. On top of that, I realized that I was making a full 200% more on Friday and Saturday than I was on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. So I converted the vast majority of my focus to late night cash games on the weekends during prime time. And that freed up the rest of my time during the week to begin focusing on Check Show Poker, releasing YouTube videos, vlogs, sending out emails to all of my students, and then obviously coaching them during the day.
If you have a coach that can point you in the right direction that way, you increase your win rate. Something small, but it still takes dedication to spot it, to recognize it, and then to kind of change your lifestyle to fit that schedule. So, congrats on that. Hey, the World Series of Poker is fast approaching, 2017 at the Rio. You must be happy to see 3 online bracelet events this year, considering how well you did in 2015.
I think it's great. We should have had those the entire time, and it's just too bad that our government feels like they need to have their hands in everything. Right now, I think almost everything in the United States is overregulated, but it's good to see that poker was able to power through that and allow WSOP.com to spread awesome events online. Hopefully, they're packed in the several thousand number of players. Because like the year that I played, that event wasn't advertised anywhere, and we still had 915 people show up and deposit $1,100 online. So what could you do if you were actually actively advertising that? You could have 10,000 people online within the state of Nevada playing that event, and I don't know why that hasn't already been done.
Well, I can only imagine if they opened it up to the entire world one day. If it was an online event, you could play it from anywhere. That would be something else.
Yeah, you could have poker tournaments with 100,000 entries, and that wouldn't be unrealistic.
That would be incredible. You like the schedule this year? They've got some new events. There's one event that I think you might like because I figure you'll be out there the entire time. Is that accumulator event? You play it every Friday or something? Do you like that?
I'm not a huge fan of that event or any of the other gimmicky events that the Rio has tried to add to their schedule because they're basically going bankrupt. Harris Properties went basically bankrupt a couple years ago. They were bought up by Caesars Entertainment, and Caesars Entertainment, the largest piece of their business, just declared bankruptcy. And now some Chinese investors have been trying to raise enough capital to just essentially buy Vegas, with the exception of all of Steve Wynn's properties and the Aria. That's forced the Rio to add a whole bunch of gimmicky events with way too much rake. The worst example of this is the Colossus. They're charging $65 for a $565 event. That's a 12% rake. They're giving you 5K starting with half-hour levels. It's got to be the worst structure of any tournament ever. Before you even consider the fact that they're guaranteeing $1 million to first place, so it's going to be an extremely top-heavy event and a huge waste of time for everybody. The Rio's primary objective is to just bring as many people in as possible, pack them in like sardines, bust them in 2 hours, and then get them to enter another tournament so that they can rake as much as possible because they're going to go bankrupt if they don't. So what you need to do is focus on the high-value events. You've still got the Monster Stack, the Millionaire Maker, the main event, and the Summer Solstice with the extended levels. Those events are super high value. You can actually maintain a 100% return on investment long term in those events. I don't think that can be said for a lot of the other ones. So focus on the high value events with solid structures. And if the Rio isn't willing to provide you with those structures, go over to the Venetian, because the Venetian Deep Stack series actually does have incredible events, and they're not raping everybody with rake.
You know, I think that's one thing that the average player forgets about, that, you know, they make this pilgrimage to play the World Series of Poker because it's the marquee event, but they don't realize that at the other casinos, the Venetian you just mentioned, there's another series going on at the same time where you can find some value.
So Venetian has a series that mirrors the World Series of Poker, except that all of their events are way higher quality. All of their dealers are way better than the dealers at the Rio. All of their tables have auto shufflers, and their management is much better. So I know people were boycotting the Venetian for a long time because of the owner's attempt to shut down online poker and any initiative to get online poker available again. But they really are providing some excellent tournaments, and I would suggest going over there. Also, take a look at the stuff that's going on at the Wynn. The Wynn Classic is amazing every summer. The WPT 500 at the Aria is great. I made a deep run in that in 2015. And last year, I was really impressed with the events that Planet Hollywood was running. They had some of the best structures on the strip, and nobody even knew about those. They had, I think, an $1,100 event that got 3,000 entrants on a Tuesday, and it wasn't advertised anywhere. Nobody even knew about it.
I get the sense that you're going to be super busy in Vegas this summer, man.
Yes, it's going to be a nonstop grind. It's the most important 6-week period of the year. So if I'm not firing a big MTT with a high return on investment, I'm going to be hunkered down somewhere in a cash game, generating as much income as I possibly can, and hopefully I can just take the rest of the year easy.
Well, there you go, folks. This guy definitely stays on top of his game. It's important you do as well. If you need coaching, please check him out. Hunter Cichy, at Hunter Cichy on Twitter, at CheckShover on Twitter. The website is checkshovepoker.com. It's a great website. You'll find a lot of great content. He's got a YouTube and a blog as well. And the new book, Advanced Concepts in No Limit Hold'em, a modern approach for poker analysis. It's on pre-order now, Hunter. What are people going to get from this book when they buy it?
You're going to get three things. You're going to get by far the most extensive math breakdown that anybody can understand. So you could go buy The Mathematics of Poker by Bill Chen, but you wouldn't understand a word of it. If you buy my book, you're going to get all the same math concepts, except the general population can actually understand it. Second thing you're going to get is every game theory optimal pre-flop opening range, isolation range, flatting range, and 3-betting range for no limit Texas Hold'em with no rake at the 100 big blind stacked up. So my pre-flop section of the book alone is 120 pages. People think that's overkill. I completely disagree. Pre-flop play is the foundation of post-flop profitability, and that's an absolute must. And then the third thing you're going to get is post-flop objectives. So anybody that's followed me knows that I used to be a critical care paramedic. I worked for Alina Medical for a bit in the Midwest, based out of Regents Hospital as a level 5 trauma center. And I was constantly placed in extremely difficult situations where, a lot of times I didn't have all the resources or information necessary to treat my patients. And I had to make tough decisions on the fly to try and keep people alive. And in order to do that, I needed to understand three things. I needed to understand protocols. Protocols are for things that happen all the time. Then I needed to understand guidelines, and that's for things that happen some of the time. And then I also needed to develop critical thinking skills so I could solve problems that were unique, solve problems that nobody else had ever had to solve before. And I've taken all of that and applied it to poker in the post-flop section. I've taken all of the questions that I ask myself and arranged them in the exact order that my internal dialogue would be in. And I'm teaching people protocols. So you've got the pre-flop ranges, that's protocols, the things that you're always doing. And you've got guidelines, so how you should be approaching different board textures, depending on whether or not you have the initiative and you're in or out of position. And then you're developing critical thinking skills with the algorithms that I put together in the post-flop section. So you're going to get three things. You've got pre-flop play, post-flop play, and an excellent math section, better than any other book on the market.
Well, listen, man, it's been a treat to have you on again. Really appreciate your time. Good luck with the book. Again, Advanced Concepts in No Limit Hold'em, a modern approach to poker analysis by Hunter Cichy. At Hunter Cichy on Twitter, checkshovepoker.com, at checkshover. Thank you so much, man. Continued success with the coaching, and good luck at the Rio this summer, man. Knock 'em dead.
Thank you, Derek. I appreciate it.